what Tor does and does not do, and what Tor is designed for, and what it will and will not protect you from. Without special configuration, Tor is designed to do the following. So it anonymizes the browser's connection to websites, and that's the browser only. You have to specially configure other applications to use the Tor proxy if you want them to use Tor. So after installing, only the Tor browser uses Tor. Don't make the mistake of thinking other applications now go through Tor just because you've installed the Tor browser. That's not the case. It's only the Tor browser that goes through Tor unless you make special configuration. It focuses on protecting the transportation of data only. It prevents your internet service provider or local network from knowing what sites you are visiting. It prevents a site you are visiting from knowing who you are unless you tell them in some way, like by logging in. So for example, if you go to Facebook via Tor, log in as yourself, that's pretty pointless. It prevents tracking because sites have no idea if you have visited the site before. You are coming from different IP addresses and you are not maintaining tracking information within the browser. It can help you evade censorship, and it allows you to access the Tor darknet or hidden services via the .onion addresses. Some of the things now that Tor does not protect you from. Tor doesn't prevent your ISP or local network or country or whoever is watching from knowing that you use Tor unless special configuration is made. This is because Tor is a distinctive SSL TLS connection. With deep packet inspection, Tor traffic can be identified. You can use bridges, chain VPNs, pluggable transports, and other workarounds to avoid this detection, which we will cover shortly. Tor does not prevent a site you are visiting from knowing you are using Tor. The Tor exit relays are known, and the Tor browser has a unique fingerprint. Tor does not make applications other than the Tor browser use Tor, as I've already mentioned, including anything you download, like for example a PDF or executable. Once downloaded and accessed or run, it could reach out and de-anonymize you. It won't go through the Tor network. It can just reach out, connect to a server of some sort, and then that server is going to know your real IP address and where you're coming from. Tor cannot remove all browser vulnerabilities, solve all browser vulnerabilities, and stop all browser exploits. It just attempts to mitigate them. It's not going to protect you against any active content if you are allowing it to run. Java, JavaScript, Adobe Flash, Adobe Shockwave, QuickTime, Real Audio, ActiveX controls, and VB scripts and binary applications. Setting the security and privacy setting on high will mitigate JavaScript. Only JavaScript is installed and enabled by default. All the rest of the others that I've gone through are not present unless you install them. If you install them, you are at risk. The Tor browser does not protect you against vulnerabilities and attacks related to that active content. Therefore, it is not going to protect you from issues related to add-ons and extensions that you install. It's not recommended you install any other extensions or add-ons. There's no protection from malware that is on websites or especially on your laptop. There's no protection from your operating system being compromised, no protection from hardware compromises. It's not going to prevent someone watching over your shoulder. There's no protection from man in the middle or man on the side attacks. There's no protection from attachments. It doesn't remove personal information from documents if you're going to send them. and there's no protection from doing something stupid like logging into a website and thinking your circuit is still anonymous when you've logged in as your real identity. This is check.torproject.org. TorCheck will let you know if you're connected to the Tor network and if it's with the Tor browser. You will also be able to see if JavaScript is enabled or disabled. If we scroll down here, we can see JavaScript is disabled, and we can also see our IP address and make sure that that is not our actual ISP assigned IP address. It's always good when you use Tor, the very first thing that you do is to check that Tor is functioning correctly and that you have your security settings set the way that you want them. Make this your routine. Always check this page that your IP address has changed. JavaScript, make sure that that is disabled and your security settings are high. The browser enables JavaScript and other weak controls by default, so if security, privacy and anonymity is imperative to you, then you have to change the setting to high security, as you see here. This will obviously restrict the functionality of some sites, as we've discussed in some length, as you know that JavaScript is required and some of these other features on some sites. That unfortunately is the sacrifice that you have to make. The Tor project provides some solid advice on using Tor, which is worth us going through now. First one is use the Tor browser. If you have gone through the tracking and browsing section on the course, you will know the many ways that the browser can be manipulated to give up your privacy and anonymity. So you have two choices: either use a Tor browser or harden a browser yourself as detailed in the browser section, or you could find another alternative hardened browser, but the Tor browser is the easiest option and better option for Tor security, privacy and anonymity. The Tor project is also saying here that if you try to use another application, like for example your email client with Tor, it is risky because it might leak information like DNS, and we will talk more about that shortly and mitigations to prevent that. I'm sure a lot of people consider Tor for torrenting. Unfortunately, torrents are leaky, and if we look here, there's a good post on it and a research paper if you want to understand more. But what they say is that torrent file sharing applications have been observed to ignore proxy settings and make direct connections even when they are told not to. What I mean by direct connections is connections that are not going over Tor. Even if your torrent application connects only through Tor, you will often send out your real IP address in the tracker get request, because that's how torrents work. Plus you slow down the Tor network, which they don't really appreciate. The next one is don't enable or install browser plugins, and that will apply to extensions as well. Yes, don't install any add-ons or extensions to the Tor browser, as this will alter your browser fingerprint and uniquely identify you, and those extensions or add-ons could make you more vulnerable. They could be a platform for attack. So don't do it unless you really know what you're doing. And the next one, use HTTPS versions of websites. As it says here, Tor will encrypt your traffic to and within the Tor network, but the encryption of the traffic to the final destination website depends upon that website, i.e. you have to be connecting to an HTTPS website. You have to use HTTPS or end-to-end encryption to stop the exit node seeing all your traffic, which is pretty obvious. And in fact, anyone who is observing the exit node traffic can also read the traffic if it's unencrypted and inject into your traffic. Remember, it's not just that they can read your traffic. If it's unencrypted, they can inject malicious code into the traffic as well if they are a man in the middle once it has left the exit node. Don't open documents downloaded through Tor while online. There's no protection from attachments using Tor, which we've already mentioned. The usual precautions for any downloaded file should obviously be taken. If you just open a PDF file, it can just connect out and not go via Tor, so don't do it. We'll discuss mitigations later to that. And the last one, use bridge and or find company. So we're going to talk about what bridges are and how to use them shortly in another video. So that's a video on what Tor does and does not do, what it is designed for, what it will protect you from, and what it won't protect you from. So I hope that has helped to give you an idea, an overview of why or if you should be using Tor.